But I think the highest form of discipline is the ability to adjust. If you're not in charge of yourself and your life, you're not free.
One of the things you've really reframed in a lot of people's minds is the word discipline and what it means.
Yeah.
Because the definition of discipline that I understood before discipline is destiny was this kind of painful restraint despite my urges for the sake of some kind of goal that I have.
Yeah.
What is discipline in your definition of the word and what that really means at its core?
Well, I think it's important to note that the Stoics are talking about self-discipline, right? So discipline is not, the Marine sergeant telling everyone else what to do, how to be, right? The Stoics are talking about the virtue of self-discipline, which is you have your standards that you selected for yourself that you are living up to. It's not a weapon that you wield against other people, right? And I think so often when we hear discipline, we think disciplinarian, right? Someone who's really strict. One of the beautiful lines in Meditations, Marcus Aurelius says, remember, tolerant with others, strict with yourself. And actually that itself demands so much more discipline, right? To be like, I never accept being late for me or for other people, right? I work hard. I judge people that are not in shape, right? I expect long hours from everyone that works for me. There's that sort of rigid, strict form of discipline. But I have found in my own journey, my own life, that it actually requires more discipline to go, this is what I expect of myself. And this is how I'm wired. This is how I operate best. And then I understand that other people, not only do I not control them, but they have different proclivities, different ways of living, different ways of being. And that my job is to figure out how to adapt myself to them instead of forcing them to be like me. Marcus Aurelius, it's fascinating. He has this stepbrother, and there could not be two more different people than Marcus Aurelius and his stepbrother Lucius Verus. And Marcus makes this remarkable decision soon after becoming emperor, which is that he names his stepbrother, this guy he has no blood relation to, he names him co-emperor. The first thing he does with unlimited power is he gives half of it away to someone with an almost opposite style of living, being, leadership. And in the beginning of Meditations, Marcus Aurelius talks about his brother like at length. He doesn't call him his stepbrother, he calls him his brother. And he says, what I learned from my brother, he says, I'm so grateful to have had this person in my life, a man whose character helped me improve my own. And the point was, I think not only did he have to learn how to practice the virtues of acceptance, flexibility, meeting people where they are, but Marcus had to adjust himself and find the good in this person and not try to make this person just like him or be disappointed and judgmental of this person for not being just like them, right? And so when we think of discipline, so often it's rendered as this form of rigidity. But I think the highest form of discipline is the ability to adjust, be flexible, and adapt. And really great leaders, really great people manage to get stuff out of people who are not like them, right? They don't write someone off because they don't have the same high standards as them, or they don't get that person to reach those high standards through force, bullying, or judgment, but through example, through inspiration, right? Through discussion. And so I'm trying to render discipline not only in that sense. I think often also when we think of discipline, we think about it in the physical form, right? Discipline is running harder, running longer, lifting more weight, working more hours. And that physical discipline is essential. And there's almost no one who is successful in life who does not also have that form of physical discipline.
And in the introduction, you say discipline gives us freedom, which again feels like that's typically not what people think of discipline. We think of discipline as taking our freedom and making our lives, as you say, more rigid.
Yeah.
As you were saying then, like more rigid and less choices, less optionality. But in the introduction of your book, you say discipline gives us freedom.
Epictetus is this slave. He's a slave in Nero's court. And imagine the contrast. This person who has no freedom, completely impoverished. Their body, their work, their labor, it's all stolen from them. And then they're surrounded by not just opulence, but power, right? And ambition and fame, right? He's surrounded by the who's who of Roman life. And Epictetus looks around and he realizes that he's freer than all these people. And he realizes he's freer than all these people because they're not in control of themselves. They might be legally free, but they're slaves to their ambition, or they're slaves to the job they've gotten, or their family name, or their urges, their temptations, right? And he realizes that if you're not in control of your aversions and your desires, right? He says these are the two forces of human life: what you want, what you don't want. If you're not in command of what you do, what you think, it really doesn't matter, what your legal status is, right? You're not as free as you think you are. And I think we've all experienced that. You've met people, you've probably had them on the show. Enormous bank balances, enormous followings, hugely powerful jobs. And then, they're like, sorry, I have a hard out at 11:06, or whatever, right? Like they're running from thing to thing. Their phone is constantly ringing. Like they're sitting here, they're the powerful person, but someone's coming whispering in like the assistant is actually in charge, right? Or the wanting the next thing, the next accomplishment. That's what's really driving them. And so, the Stoics were successful and they did do things in the world. They weren't all like Epictetus, but they understood that if you're not in charge of yourself and your life, like your emotions, your thoughts, you're not free. And when you are in the sway of something, whether it's an addiction, whether it's momentum of your career, whether it's just doing what everyone else is doing, like you're not free. And so creating structure and rules, it can feel limiting and like you're giving up a freedom, but you're actually gaining freedom that a lot of people have never even tasted.